I think that the essential problem is that the modern world of instantaneous communications and the ability to form coalitions and to raise money and promote causes essentially without end has made the representative legislature deeply problematic.
Before we talk about the second part of the major changes in American politics since the 1970s, namely the debt and the spending problem, let me just follow up with one question about the growth of the administrative state. What, if anything, can be done about it at this late date? As a student of Ed Banfield, you're under no obligation to have a solution,
yes.
but I think you do have some, at least, suggestions for improving the situation.
The suggestions for improvement come in three forms. One is that we can require procedures of the administrative agencies that are more rigorous and more formal. What they engage in now is informal rulemaking. One might think that for $100 million or $1 billion decision, one might have some of the incidents of adjudication where we have live witnesses, presentation of evidence, of statistics, cross-examination, the clash of competing views, judges that are independent from the agencies that have an incentive in regulatory growth, and there are many proposals for changing administrative procedures in these ways. Second would be,
and that would be a statutory change.
That would be a statutory change. The second would be to heighten judicial review. Judicial review is now very lax. To say that all I have to do is be not arbitrary or capricious or abusive, which is a pretty low threshold, and there are many proposals for heightening review. I myself would apply an economic test. I think that major regulations should have to show, and a court should be satisfied that the showing is reasonable, that the costs that are going to be imposed are worth the benefits. We're going to be getting greater benefits out of it.
And that would be a statutory change?
That would be a statutory change as well. And the third would be to get additional legislative oversight in the form of requiring that also for some major subset of rules that impose on the private economy. I'm not talking about rules setting the opening and closing times at Yellowstone Park. I'm talking about rules that regulate the private economy, that major rules would have to be approved by both houses of Congress so that the single mission blinkered incentives of our special purpose agencies would be moderated by the need to compose rules that would attract a legislative majority in both houses.
The latter proposal is contained in what's called the REINS Act.
Yes, there is an act, the REINS Act passed the House of Representatives twice in recent years.
May I explain what it stands for? Regulations from the Executive in Need of Scrutiny Act.
Right.
Not one of the
It's
best
not,
slogans, but anyway.
it sort of misstates
Right.
the problem. It could be legislators from the Congress in need of taking accountability one way or the other for federal policy just as well. I think that that proposal was for major final regulations. I would modify it today in light of the many controversies over statutory revisions that the President has made, that I would have an expedited procedure for important revisions to statutes that the President wished to make, to get them before Congress for votes. The President can say in some of these cases that Congress hadn't acted, I just had to do something because we had some statutory problem that was just a mess, not comporting with reality. The President should go to Congress in a case like that.
And that act is also obviously a statutory.
Those are all statutory. Right. There are some that are simply ideas for changes in Supreme Court constitutional doctrine. The most important would be to revive to some degree the non-delegation doctrine created by the Schechter case, one of the great moments in Supreme Court history, and that has fallen into disitude, and to restrict the degree. Congress may now delegate authority to the executive branch to pursue the public interest, to pursue clean air, safe drugs. Those aren't real decisions. They're leaving the real decisions to the executive branch, and I would favor a revival there.
What about Philip Hamburger's idea, who's a law professor and an expert on administrative law, to have Congress begin to adopt wholesale the regulations of a small agency and then move down the list of federal agencies, so that you turn regulations into actual statutes, and in that exertion of responsibility you take command of them, or at least you become accountable for them in a way that Congress isn't quite yet. Right. He seems to think that's better than the reins.
I think yes. It's a little like saying, we talked earlier about Ed Banfield. Ed Banfield used to say, most policy reforms are along the lines of saying that the solution to the problem of drunkenness is greater temperance in the use of alcohol. That's my reform. Right. The Hamburger book is a wonderful tour de raison. It's a terrific book. A lot of the critiques of the problems that we're having are short on practicable solutions, and he's telling Congress to do exactly what it does not want to do. And I think it would be wonderful if Congress did that. But I think we have to work with the world that we are in. And that is why I think it's important to focus on the causes of the growth of regulation in modern politics, rather than simply Woodrow Wilson led us on a wrong turn and we should read Philip Hamburger and, oh my, the scales will fall from our eyes and we'll do the right thing. This isn't just a matter of winning an argument. I think we should try to win arguments, but there are incentive problems, and I think that the essential problem is that the modern world of instantaneous communications and the ability to form coalitions and to raise money and promote causes essentially without end has made the representative legislature deeply problematic. And we have to think of reforms that will revive the hierarchical structure of the Congress, to revive its sense of being an establishment with responsibility. So I think that Professor Hamburger's proposals are great, but they're actually another way of posing the dilemma we face, which is that we've lost a sense of competition between the two political branches, and we have to come up with reforms that will permit the legislative branch to be a serious player in the constitutional game again, and take responsibility for maybe Congress is willing to stand up and vote in favor of the magician's rabbit evacuation rule. I actually kind of doubt it. I think that would be a great case where simple populism would lead to the government pulling back from an obvious excess. But we have to get Congress to be willing to make those decisions rather than just, it's the courts, it's the executive branch.